চিঠেতে করি যাই কিয়া গুরুমুখা পদ্মবাকিয়া চিঠেতে করি যাই কিয়া আশা না করিহ মানে আশা চরণে রাতি হেসে উতমা গতি শ্রী গুরু চরণে রাতি উতমা গতি যে প্রাসাদে পুরে সর্বা আশা প্রসাদে পুরে সর্বা আশা চক্ষুদানা দিল যে জমে জমে প্রভু সে চক্ষুদানা দিল যে জামে জামে প্রভু সে দিব্য জ্ঞান হৃদয় প্রকাশিত দিব্য জ্ঞান হৃদয় প্রকাশিত ভক্তি যাহা হইতে আবিদ্যা বিনাশা যাতে প্রেম ভক্তি যাহা হইতে আবিদ্যা বিনাশা যাতে গাই যাহারা চারে তো বেদে গায় যাহারা চারে তো শ্রী গুরু কারুণা সিন্ধু আদাম্মা জানারা বন্ধু শ্রী গুরু কারুণা সিন্ধু আদাম্মা জানারা বন্ধু লোকেরা জীবানা লোকেরা জীবানা শিলা প্রভুপাদা লোকেরা জীবানা শিলা প্রভুপাদা লোকেরা জীবানা Prabhupada Guru Puja ki
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Harivijagacharya Astatara Satasi Simad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Paramahamsa Harivijagacharya Astatara Satasi Simad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki His Confounder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prams Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Ko Gopinath Shyamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham ki Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki Ganga Mai ki Jamuna Mai ki Tulsi Devi ki Bhakti Devi ki Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Brihat Madanga Transcendental Book Distribution ki Shri Radha Shama Sundara ki Shri Radha Madhava ki Shriman Mahaprabhu ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. What? I beg your pardon? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivara Dhari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivara Dhari. Jasodanandana Brajajanaranja Jasodanandana Brajajanaranja Yamunatiravana Chadi. Jamunatiravana Chadi. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivara Dhari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivara Dhari. Jasodanandana Brajajanaranja Jasodanandana Brajajanaranja Jamunatiravana Chadi. Jamunatiravana Chadi. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gora Premanandi. This is the big day. Amongst many other big days, this is a big day. How many persons here, this is the first time you've taken part in a japa retreat or Festival of the Holy Name type of an event? A few. Okay. Okay. here's a tradition is part of what we did yesterday is kind of the preparing ourselves for, and then today is the enlivenment and the execution of the application of all of that preparation. And according to different devotees, along with the time that we spent yesterday, a sankalpa, or an intention of what you would like to do in your relationship with the holy name, specifically today, and going forward in time. You can certainly revise your sankalpa. It's good to revisit it, but focus on quality and simultaneously increase from what we normally do daily, some quantity. So commonly we just call it 64 round day. Some devotees, their intention, their target is something less, something greater. And from time to time, we have other events like this. And I mean, I know some devotees, when there's appearance days or Ekadasi days, they have a pretty lofty target. And to reach that lofty target, they take rest early, get up early, and start early, like after midnight, or 2 o'clock in the morning, or something. How many devotees here have already chanted 32 rounds? A few. Okay. If you can, have a goal, a target that you would like before the day's end, somehow, 64 rounds, something that's not beyond reach at all. And there's focus and concentration, and there's foregoing things. On this particular day, it's a respectful practice to observe Mona Vrata. We didn't discuss it yesterday, but in case you don't know what that means, except when you're dealing with children or some conversation that's really necessary, you don't engage in conversation. Like we'll see, as soon as we finish this morning class, we'll see if there's conversation, because that's a no-no. Mona Vrata for the day, or at least until you complete your chanting, and being respectful to the other devotees. So there's ground rules to make the atmosphere conducive. Different devotees have different needs, but one of the understandings that's common, I don't want to discourage our cooks, but diminish your eating. And because of obvious reasons, it takes energy to digest your food, so expend energy maximum for the chanting of the holy name. So at different times, there are different vratas that one can engage in, but the chanting of the holy name, particularly in this age, it's especially important. So by design, this morning class is supposed to be short, like super short. And the same class, I like this class, so at almost every japa retreat or festival holy name, it's the same class. It's really short and sweet, and give some indication of something to focus with, plus a little curiosity. What does it mean to hear with the spiritual ear? And so there's the negative, what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean mechanical chanting. We know what mechanical chanting, like just a recording. Like many people have these in their home. It's nice, but then if they have a little box, plug it into the wall. As soon as they plug it into the wall, Prabhupada's recorded, kind of a poor recording, but Prabhupada's chanting. And that's one type of chanting. But then there's beyond mechanical chanting. And I like particularly Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's expression of hear with a spiritual ear. And I'll say it and then I'll read it because his language is unique. Paraphrased and simple, there's two types of hearing. There's of the holy name. There's where it remains for the ear's purpose, a material vibration. And then there's that kind of hearing where it's not a material vibration anymore. It's not perceived as a material vibration. It's perceived as a spiritual vibration. And then there's ways of describing how you hear the auditory system. There's air that gets compressed and moves, and it hits the eardrum. The eardrum vibrates. The nervous system picks it up and sends a signal to the brain that says sound, and interprets the sound. Oh, that's the Hare Krishna mantra sound. And that kind of hearing is hearing, but it's with the material ear, this thing on the side of the head, and then the rest of the system that hooks up to the brain, and it's interpreted as a material sound. And some people, they may like it or not like it, but it's a material sound. And to them, it maintains a material sound. And then he is giving an explanation of what's the other kind of hearing, the hearing with the spiritual ear. Now, he doesn't use this explanation, but there's material senses, and these material senses are coverings of our spiritual senses. And then when you hear with your spiritual sense of hearing, that's different experience than hearing just the sound in the auditory system and the nervous system and the registers in the brain that says, oh, that's the Hare Krishna mantra. So he's encouraging going beyond to the hear with a spiritual ear. And by hearing with a spiritual ear, at least striving in that direction, lends to a different quality of hearing than the material quality of hearing. I'm just going to read. This is taken from Patravali. There's letters, there's a string of letters. The name of the Lord and the Lord himself are not two separate entities, but one. When the sound of the holy name passes over the lips, the conditioned sense of hearing and the conditioned consciousness initially process the sound as if it were material, and that is how it is perceived. As a result, only the external ear hears it. Paragraph. Since the other senses, other than the auditory sense, and the mind, which is the collector of sensory experience, are envious of the ear, which they consider to be an equal partner, the result is that such chanting does not affect the cleansing of anarthas. Paragraph. We do not have the capacity even to theoretically know that the name and the Lord of the name are one, just as piercing of the ear is one of the Vedic rites for a young child. When our spiritual ear has been pierced by the holy name, the other senses give up their envy of the auditory sense. His taking the position here that the auditory sense is the king and the others are subjects from a spiritual perspective. And not spiritual perspective, they're competitors or they're equals. Not the auditory sense is greater. So when spiritual hearing is going on, they no longer quibble with the ear, which alone can perceive transcendental sound. Then the flood of prema pours forth from all the spiritual senses and cleanses away the contaminants of opposition and malice. The fundamental disposition of a conditioned soul, rebellion towards Krishna, and which means rebellion towards the name and rebellion towards those things that are in relation to Krishna, like the devotees and so forth, etc. So the malice and opposition, along with other corollary anarthas, they're dispelled, and it's by hearing with the spiritual ear. So it still hasn't clearly identified what the spiritual ear is, as opposed to the other one. Thereafter, the Lord's beautiful form, qualities, associates, and pastimes are revealed in the name Himself and experienced by the chanter as something quite distinct from his previous experiences in the mundane world. Then the kinds of worries and distractions of the mind that are typical of the conditioned living being cannot remain. So the ear conquers the mind. When we learn to hear as we chant, the opportunity to remember Krishna will automatically arise. At that time, the Ashtakaliya Leela Smarana will become possible. There's no need to artificially to try for it, but we should constantly pray to the holy name for His mercy. It's a curiosity item. The Ashta Kaliya Leela is those who are on. It's one of the practices, one of the Raga Nuga Sadhana Bhakti practices, is during this time of the day and during that time of the day, remembrance of the Lord is according to the pastimes of the Lord at this time or that time, the other time of the day. And some kinds of teachers have a teaching that says, you want to become an elevated Raga Bhakta? You meditate on the Krishna's pastimes at these 8 times of the day. Bhaktisiddhanta is nixing that notion, saying that's no separate endeavor needed, please. Just make the endeavor to hear. And when the hearing takes place, the rest take place. It's artificial. It doesn't yield the promised result. The promised result is Krishna becomes revealed. But Krishna doesn't come revealed by mechanical practice of memorizing or meditating upon or something. It's hearing. Here's a little graphic. You know me, I like graphics. So here's a magnifying glass, and there's light of the sun. And when light of the sun is focused by the magnifying glass, the light goes to a point, and the point results in fire because the light of the sun is fire, but is diffused. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible, so that that fire of the light of the sun can be focused, and it produces fire. Even a little, even some of the rays of the sun can produce fire. I remember making this example in one japa retreat. And then the next day, some kids came and brought to me the piece of paper that they had burned holes in because they tried it. You know, the light of the sun, and hold the magnifying glass and hold it over the piece of paper, and fire. Because the sun is fire. It's heat and light. Heat and light. It's fire. Fire is heat and light. That's what the sun is. So you can concentrate the sun. So here we are in Naperville, or the material world, and there's the holy name. The holy name is non different than Krishna. You want to experience? Focus. You know, easier said than done, but you focus on simply hearing. Like one of the statements, if I remember correctly, one mantra at a time. This, or one syllable at a time, one sound at a time. So chant with rapt attention here, and with rapt attention. This is a trick. Want to know a trick? It's really simple. If your mind starts to wander, you're making a sound, and then the mind is somewhere else. How to capture the mind? Hear. Because in order to hear, you have to focus the mind. It's a trick. It works, because if you're, at least for that few moments that you're striving to hear, the sound is there. And the distracted mind becomes captured, because the ear conquers the mind. Bhaktisiddhanta's language is that the mind and the other senses will no longer quibble. It's a nice English word. Quibble. Like argue, like grumble. Quibble. The mind and the other senses will no longer quibble with the chief, like the king, the ear. Just hear. So if in the course of our chanting today is a good tool, pause and focus on hearing. Here's another trick. To articulate the syllables clearly, to check yourself, you have to hear. You won't be able to check yourself, are you articulating the sounds clearly, if you don't hear. So, you know, the front door, back door, side door, chimney, you know, hear. And that's in the chanting, it's the hearing. That's the receiver. We can make the sound, but then receive the sound. This is a teaching of Patanjali. You've all heard this one. Here we go. This is his definition in the Yoga Sutras of what abhyasa means, or practice means. And here's the statement below the magnifying glass is the statement, dirgha kala, over a prolonged period of time. Nairantarya, undeviating steadiness, or continuous, or an extended period of time. And satkara, you know, we say faith, but same, with respect, reverence, and devotion. Adara, that's the phrase that's used by Rupa Goswami in Upadesha Amrita, how the hearing of the holy name should be done with adara. So that's this morning's message. And I deliberately, another graphic, just hear the sound. And when you hear the sound, the mind is captured. It's a teaching of Rupa Goswami. You know the verse from Rupa Goswami from Padyavali? How much nectar the two syllables, no, Vidagdha Madhava, how much nectar the two syllables Krishna has, who can say? Then there's three. By uttering the sound Krishna, the holy name is dancing on the tongue. And when hearing the sound Krishna, one desires many, many tongues because it's so sweet. So the sound, making the sound, when the ear hears the sound, it's so much nectar, I want thousands of ears. It's inadequate to hear the sound. But that's Rupa Goswami's chanting. And when that sound, so make the sound, hear the sound, when the sound enters the courtyard of the heart, the mind becomes stunned and the senses become inert. To conquer the mind, you have to hear. It's not saying the same thing in a different way. Rupa Goswami is saying it in his poetic way. Bhaktisiddhanta is saying it in his straightforward way. Same message. Hear the sound. And when we're hearing the sound, there's a connection. Yoga. The medium, in this image here, the medium is the person who teaches us or delivers the teaching, gives the message of the holy name, and then the connection is direct. It's Krishna. It's very similar to the prayers that we heard yesterday. Offering Krishna's name to Krishna. What better thing can you offer? So there we go. The ear conquers the mind. And because I like the graphic, I'm going to, one more time, there's 3 more slides and we're done. You've seen this already. Here we go. By cultivating our connection with Sri Krishna in its vachaka form, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's language, gradually and naturally we will be invested with a potency which will touch and transform our hearts and the hearts of others in amazing and unexpected ways. Transcendental, beyond our imagination and calculation. Same message. By cultivating our connection with Sri Krishna in his vachaka form, gradually and naturally we will be invested with a potency which will touch and transform our hearts and the hearts of others in amazing and unexpected ways. So here with the spiritual ear, that's our message for this morning. And because of time, I'm not going to have discussion, just invite you all to remember your sankalpa. Here's another tool that may be very helpful. Hear with the spiritual ear, because the ear conquers the mind. Observe Mauna Vrata. When you're sitting down having breakfast, no conversation, Mauna Vrata, and eat modestly. Eat something, that's good, but eat modestly. And we'll see you again later according to the schedule. Happy journey. Have some target. I'd like to. If you don't reach the target, no problem, but have a target of something you'd like to do in the course of today. Like those devotees that have already chanted 32 rounds. Something that's proportionate to your capacity, and go, go, go. Take shelter. Harinam Sankirtan Ki The Prabhupada ki. Gaur Premanandi.